Big Drive Energy Monday edition. It's a post-playoff Monday. It's a Monday for sure. My kid, when your little small child thinks it's a Monday and what doesn't want to get up and knows that Broncos season's over just telepathically, that's a hell of a Monday at that point.
Mm-hmm. What are we covering today, Spence, before we get into it?
On this episode of Big Drive Energy, we've got Kevin Kisner, Ryder Cup assistant captain. It remains to be seen what we will see at the Ryder Cup with Keegan Bradley. We know he will be the captain, but has had a great start to the year. So playing captain is very much in play, if you will, at this point. We're going to talk about Tacoma Golf, our boy Grant Horvat and his whole scenario, and
Wesley Bryan brothers
hitting 1 million subs on YouTube. Shout out to him. We're only 998,998 short of that. We're going to talk about Abandoned Dunes lottery. Abandoned Dunes is going to a new format of tee times. And, we got shit on for talking about tee times in the past with one of the clips we had where I was like, it's impossible for us to get tee times and people are shitting on me. And this just goes to prove that point even further. So we're going to dive down that rabbit hole. Talk about Neil Shipley and him, his interesting way of getting around being nervous on the golf course and what he puts his mind to. Plus, of course, Nick Taylor, what a win this past weekend at the Sony Open. Unreal comeback, his odds. We'll talk about his odds after the 17th hole where he was at and how he ended up winning another tournament in a playoff. That guy's just a playoff master. All right, let's tee it up. Big Drive Energy Monday edition. Let's get into our weekends because you had a hell of a one out there in Buffalo. So for those of you that are just now tuning in to Big Drive Energy, welcome to the show. We are both from Denver, Colorado, massive Denver sports fans, massive Colorado sports fans, all the teams here. Mitchell hates the Rockies, but that's okay. I love them enough for the two of us. But
we're just massive sports fans in general. We don't discriminate.
Yeah, and so Mitchell had a insane travel weekend getting up to Buffalo, New York. I was thinking about making the trip and never did, but he made the trip up to Orchard Park. So I want to hear all about this because you were kind of MIA on text all weekend. So I want to hear how this trip went, what Buffalo is like compared to Denver, the stadium. I want to hear it all.
Bro, so I mean, it was kind of one consecutive fire fest after the next for me. The game was unbelievable. Like the atmosphere, it is legitimately like a high school stadium. So I'll get into that a little bit. It brings back like some nostalgia because you feel like you're in high school at a big high school football game. But I'll start with, so I get there, I drove 5.5 hours each way. The way there is always better than the way back. And if you can't tell, my voice sounds like shit. I'm probably terrible to listen to right now. So I apologize. I'm going to try not to sneeze or cough into the fucking microphone. Try to not be a complete amateur at this, even though that's pretty much what I am. By the way, when people post on our TikToks, it needs to be more expensive to get microphone or to get podcasting equipment. It's like, dude, go absolutely shit in your hand. Like, is there anything more annoying than that? And this guy's golf swing looks like fucking John Daly if he had 15 drinks but wasn't John Daly. It looks like the worst fucking golf swing. I was going to say something more out of pocket, but I'm just going to leave it there. And real quick, I want to clarify just housekeeping. Then I'll bring it back around. I know I'm scattered here. I'm running on an hour and a half of sleep. I'm fucking all over the place. But I was just going through our TikTok because we just posted another video. By the way, TikTok, another side note, if TikTok gets deleted, that's going to be fucked. But we'll just get everybody else on other social media. So this dude, everybody, when we posted the TGL video last week, when I said it was basically exactly like Live Golf, everybody was jumping down my throat saying it's not Live, like Live sucks, TGL's great. What I wasn't doing was hating on the TGL. I like the TGL and I like Live, but for the TGL players to say that it's not similar to Live is just a pot calling a kettle black. Like it's so hypocritical. So that's where I was going with it. They say that it's the new creative thing when I like both of them, but they're very similar. There's a lot of very similar things besides it being in a simulator, obviously. But everybody like throwing shade at me on TikTok. I'm like, dude, I enjoyed watching the TGL, and also everyone is still on the money thing. Oh, they didn't have blood money. Where do you think fucking Morgan Stanley's money came from, and Chase Bank and all these big investment bankers that are backing this shit? Where do you think their money came from? It's just I thought we were over that at this point. But anywho, I just wanted to clear that up because I enjoy the TGL and I enjoy Live. You know, there's room for more than one golf tour in the world. So I'll just throw that out there. Anywho,
Yeah, I think
go ahead.
real quick on that, people still have very opinionated feelings on Live Golf and then the TGL or the PGA Tour and the TGL combined versus Live Golf. So that's fair in some instance, but you hit the nail on the head. You weren't necessarily shitting on the TGL, and we did enjoy watching it. But if you watch those two things and realize that a lot of what came from the TGL wasn't created until Live Golf created it in this professional golf space, you're just kidding yourself. It's not saying it's bad. People that hear that are making it sound bad because they don't like the Live Tour, and they make it into, oh, we're shitting on the TGL. No, the TGL is awesome.
Yeah.
But the best way I described it, and I think I maybe said this on the last pod, but just to get my point home about it, is I think it's a good product. But the teams and the aspect of the winning and that stuff it's never going to get people to care. Like another sports team winning or losing, when the Nuggets or Broncos lose, like that, you feel that as a Broncos fan or any sports fan. You know, any of the wild card teams that lost this weekend, they felt that as a sports fan. You're not going to become a Bay Golf Club fan because you like, you know, Shane Lowry or whatever. Or
it's essentially a game show. It's a game. It's like fucking Family Feud. Like you watch it, you enjoy it. It's a couple hours long, but yeah, it's zero consequence. There's nothing. You earn nothing. I mean, besides money. I'm sure these guys are making money, but yeah, the same people that are carrying the TGL's water are the people that think Live is the worst thing ever. And it's like, without Live, the TGL doesn't exist. Without Live, these tour purses don't exist. Like these guys, like Phil Mickelson, it's kind of crazy. I mean, the guy's pretty fucking smart. He's also a degenerate gambler and got some other issues, but absolute legend. He said it. He's like, this is going to change the golf world forever. And it absolutely has. Now, has it gotten better for the viewer? No, definitely not. Like, obviously, that watching a regular ass PGA Tour event is like watching paint dry at this point. But has it changed the way, like, tell me the PGA Tour players aren't happy Live exists. Those purses have gone up 3 times the amount they were before Live, just like 3 years ago. The purses are massive. There's less competition. That is like ideal for anybody in any field. So you can't tell me the PGA Tour guys aren't loving this shit too. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify, because Josh Seipel, I don't know what his involvement is in TGL, but we are going to have him on tomorrow and post it on Wednesday. He was caddying for Shane Lowry and Wyndham's team on the TGL an opening game. I think, do you call it a game?
Match, maybe?
Round, opening match. Did I just sound like a fucking 40 handicap calling it a game? Probably, but who cares? So I don't know what his involvement is. And obviously, I'm not just trying to cover my ass here, because I genuinely did enjoy the TGL, but I just wanted to clarify where I stood with Live versus TGL and whatever. So there's that. So Buffalo, I drive up to Buffalo, hit a little snow here and there, not too bad. The drive there is always great because you're excited, you're amped, you're just ready to rock. Like you're so stoked that you're almost like, let's get this trip on the road, you know, for lack of a better term, pardon the pun. So then I get there I book an Airbnb because all the hotel rooms are like $350 for a fucking Hilton. I'm not paying $350 a night for a Hilton out of principle. I'm like, that's ridiculous. So I look on Airbnb, find this really cool little spot, like literally half a mile outside of downtown Buffalo, 0.5 of a mile from everybody's hotel. I find the Airbnb, it's $85 a night. So 1 bedroom, 1 bath. It's got a little kitchen and stuff. Brand new. It's all brand new, like the interior is. So I'm like, this is great. Like I almost felt like it was a little too good to be true. And it kind of was. So I get there, I get about halfway up, and I'm like, I didn't see anything about like the parking situation at the Airbnb. So I messaged the host, and they replied, there's street parking on Allen Street, which is a street over from the Airbnb. So there's no street parking even in front of the Airbnb. So I end up parking the car. And mind you, like this neighborhood's not bad, but it's not great. It's I would almost consider it like Cap Hill in Denver if I were to make a comparison. Like it really cool, newer bars, like kind of some divey stuff. But definitely you could get your car stolen there as well. 100%. And I rented a car, which I talked about earlier. So I was like, oh, my rental car might get fucking stolen. That just might happen, you know? And so, and it was so far around the block that it was like a 10-minute walk. So I couldn't just go check on the car. I could, but time was a little tight. I'm not going to be like, let me spend 20 minutes just going to walk and make sure my car's still there. So that fucking stressed me out. And it took me like 40 minutes to find a parking spot. At that point, I texted all of our buddies that were up from Florida. I'm like, hey, can I park at your guys' hotel? And then I'll just Uber to my Airbnb just so I don't have this fucking headache. And the street parking was weird. Like you have to legit drive up on a curb. It's like a rounded curb, but it's a curb nonetheless where it looks like you're parking on the sidewalk. So I'm like, this doesn't even look like a parking spot, but everybody else is here. So I guess I'm just going to park here and hopefully not get towed or get a ticket, whatever. So my car's at, oh, go ahead.
As I say, isn't that funny just about like human nature and the way we act is like something, it doesn't feel right, but you see someone else doing what you think doesn't feel right. You're like, oh, cool. It seems to be good, you know? And there's a lot of shitty people out there that do things you shouldn't do. But overall, I'm kind of that same way. Like if I'm the first one to do it, I'm probably not in. But if I see a bunch of other people doing it, I'm like, yeah, this seems fine.
You're literally just you're outing yourself as a follower right now, which is fair. But yeah, it's similar to like crossing a crosswalk on a red. Some people just walk and they're like, hit me. What are you going to do? And then 2 people walk and the cars stop and then 40 people walk. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. So whatever. I find street parking kind of a nightmare. The Airbnb, I definitely thought I was going to get hurt. There was, it was in,
Yeah.
so the front was a salon. And then I had to go through this little back gate and then wrap around. It really wasn't clear where the unit even was because it was a big house. And this was basically like the attic unit of this old house. And it's like dilapidated on the outside. The paint's peeling. And the inside, it's one of those where it's basically a fire fest where you see the pictures. You're like, holy fuck, this is fantastic. And then you see the outside of the building and you're like, I'm staying here. Like, this is where I got to be. It was one of those where
Memphis
I almost
2.0.
Oh, dude, yeah, never again. I'd stay in Buffalo 10 times out of 10. But anywho, so I was a little sketched out. I was like, this isn't going to go well. Get into the Airbnb. It ended up being fine. But then we go to the bar. That was fun. We went to the Anchor Bar, which was the original Buffalo Wing. So I am not a huge Buffalo quote unquote Buffalo wing fan. I like wings, but I like barbecue because buffalo sauce just gives me heartburn. I actually like buffalo sauce, but I don't like the way it makes me feel. And as you can tell, I treat my body like a temple. It's very well taken care of, very well looked after. Not a whole lot of bad shit going in here. So that's actually going to be my mulligan of the week. So I'll save that. But had the OG original buffalo wing. They were very good. but also wings are I want your opinion, but I think you can definitely have a bad wing, but I don't know how you would rank an elite wing. Like, is it crunch? Is it I mean, obviously the sauce is the flavor, the meat matters, but is it the crunch on the outside? And do you know what else? I don't know if I'm in a minority here. I think when wings get too big, they like creep me out. I'm like, I don't want to eat a fucking juiced up chicken. I don't want to eat fucking the Sammy Sosa of chickens here. I just want a fucking regular ass, run of the mill, maybe exercises a few times a week type of chicken. I don't, you know what I mean? Am I wrong there? Like, give me your rundown on chicken wings.
Well, I think I'm very weird when it comes to chicken wings because I love them, but I do not like the fact that they're all sauced. Like I'd much rather a dry rub anytime, any day of the week.
I agree.
But even if it's not a dry rub, I would much prefer them to just give me the wings dry with a cup of sauce on the side.
Yeah.
I don't like cleaning my fingers every single time I eat one thing. I don't like constantly being dirty and my face being messy. Like I'd like to just dip the part of the wing I want to eat, put it in my mouth, good to go. So and yeah, definitely like the bigger chicken wings freak me out. Like that's why we almost got Bonchon again. We've had Bonchon like a couple of times. No free shout out to Bonchon.
It's so good. Yeah, fucking sponsors Bonchon.
Slaps, but their big good drums, dude, are like a little weird because you think they're a wing, but they're fucking not. And like when you order drums,
you have to make a distinction that it's not a wing because otherwise it'll freak you the fuck out. If you think of it as a big chicken wing, I'm out. I'm all the way out immediately.
That chicken is more of like a dinosaur velociraptor chicken than a chicken that you would think.
Like that shit came out of an egg that's like the size of my head type shit. That's not what I'm looking for. That's just not up my alley. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I will say my chicken wings that I've been making in the air fryer, and you know, it's a fucking air fryer. I'm no Guy Fieri over here, but I go like we've got this Japanese barbecue. Kinder Seasonings does this Japanese barbecue. It's actually really good. It's like soy and ginger. I do that in a dry rub, throw them in the air fryer, and they come out so good and like crispy, dude. 16 to 18 minutes, and then just dip them. But then your hands aren't all messed up. Like I was in the trenches with those wings. Like Yasso, our buddies were sitting across from me, and I only had like one napkin, and it was a problem. Like there was one napkin that was like barely used. I'm like, hand me that. Like I need that right now. I don't care because I am in the midst of it. So I mean the wings were great, don't get me wrong. But I just was not like, holy shit, I want to die and go to heaven over these wings. So then Sunday we woke up.
Real quick, what kind of flavoring did you get?
I got
did you just get regular buffalo or there's like a million flavorings?
I got a bourbon honey barbecue. So it was like third spiciest on the level of like 12. But I heard even like the mild ones were semi-spicy, so it didn't give me heartburn. Like the dinner last night absolutely fucking wrecked me. Which was
you ate fried bologna.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Which is sounds gas, but you fucking potato, you fucking
No, I mean that's gonna be my
win silly prizes.
That's my mulligan of the week, bro. But honestly, nobody goes to fucking Buffalo and goes, give me a salad. Nobody's eating a salad in Buffalo, New York. So then we went to another bar that night. I had the worst sinus and toothache. Did I tell you about that?
No, you're just a mess, bro. You're physically a mess right now, I feel like.
Well, and it's just obviously the drinking is not helpful on like a long weekend like this. The drinking.
That's your life, dude. That's not a long weekend. That's just a Monday.
No, there's a difference. There's a difference. But I've had this sinus thing going on, and I legitimately almost left the bar. I was 2 minutes away from leaving the bar because I don't know if anybody else has gone through this. When my sinuses get fucked up, it somehow travels into like one of my wisdom teeth. Have you ever had that where your sinus ache gives you a toothache?
No, I don't think so. I got a toothache a week ago from those fake ass Zins I got. My front tooth started feeling numb and I had a freak out.
You're fucking falling out of your face like chiclets.
Yeah.
No,
Didn't like it.
and I mean, I take great care of my teeth. Like, I don't really have toothaches. I have not gotten my wisdom teeth out, which probably does not help. And part of me thinks one of the roots of the wisdom teeth is like up in my fucking sinus. And that's why I have sinus issues. So maybe I just need to get my wisdom teeth out. But yeah, you know how much I love to talk. Obviously, anyone listening to this knows how much I love to talk. I was dead silent. Like, I was being so quiet because I was just trying to fight through this in my own head. Everyone's looking at me like, what's your deal? And I'm just like sitting there, like holding my face. And then I was literally getting ready to walk out the door, and something moved in my sinus. My sinus pain immediately went away. My tooth pain immediately went away. It was like a Christmas miracle. It was unbelievable. So then I stayed at the bar. We played darts. Yeah, it was a much better night than when I was experiencing that sinus pressure.
Dude, isn't that the best? It's like when your ears pop or something like that happens and you just immediately feel relief. It's like,
yes,
wow.
I
Give me
have
that
no idea.
over.
Yeah, bottle that up and inject it right in my fucking veins. Whatever that was, where it just all my pain disappeared. Unbelievable. I'll try to hurry this up real quick so we can get on to other shit. But we went to the game yesterday, tailgated. Tailgating was awesome. There was 2 dudes that jumped through tables next to us. I didn't get it on video. But the people of Buffalo, for the most part, there's a few dickheads that made some shitty comments to me, and I hit him with the win a Super Bowl comment. You know, it's kind of low hanging fruit, but what are you going to do? Win a fucking Super Bowl. So actually, a lot of the fans, though, were very cool. We had a tailgate car, a few tailgates over, a few cars over. They were just like 4 dudes, full bills, overalls, and all that shit. They were partying their asses off. And Doug goes over and talks to him, and all of a sudden they're waving us all over. They've got a bunch of bottles of liquor. We're taking shots. They're just cool as fuck. And then we actually met up with them after the game. They were in the parking lot drinking after the game, waiting to leave. So we went over and had a drink or 2 with them on the way out. But the stadium was part of the reason why I wanted to go is to see that stadium, because the new stadium right next to it looks unbelievable. It's fucking huge, obviously top of the line, brand new shit. This old stadium, like I said, legitimately a Texas high school football stadium, is probably bigger than that. There's bleachers in half of it. Everything looks. You remember when we went to Qualcomm Stadium like 10 years ago? For those of you who are unfamiliar, that was the Chargers stadium before they moved to LA. It was the biggest piece of dog shit I've ever stepped foot in. And that includes the Airbnb that I stayed at this weekend.
Yeah, like just real quick on Qualcomm, imagine, you know, those big TVs with like the VCR below it that you used to hang in like your home gym in the 1990s. That was the TVs above the concession stands at Qualcomm.
And they all had bullet holes in them.
They had backs to them and bullet holes in the screens. Most insane thing ever.
Yeah, like for San Diego being such an affluent area, it was the most shocking thing ever. Like, they just did not give a single fuck about that football stadium. But the stadium itself was like well kept. It just felt like you were walking into your grandma's house. You just in like a nostalgic good way. Like, I really enjoyed it. Obviously, those stadiums are getting phased out. It's kind of the last of its kind. But it was very cool. I was drinking spiked hot chocolates. Those were clutch. Game was a blast. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, wish we could have gotten the offense going more. And then Josh Allen just kind of was Josh Allen, did his thing. I have a few gripes that I'll get out of the way quickly. That touchdown to Johnson was not a touchdown. No way in fuck. I don't know how. And you know, when they expedite reviews like that they know it's not a touchdown. When like 5 seconds later, they're like, oh, we're going to review it. Oh, yeah, it's good. What? The motherfucker's foot is out of bounds. The ball is clearly moving. In what world? I watched it with my own 2 eyes. I could see the ball move. I'm like, that is not a catch. Not in a million fucking years. They actually, I will say, they took a little longer to review it, and then they upheld it. I was shocked. Did you think that was a catch?
It's so tough to tell. Like some of the angles, you could just never tell that he had full control of the ball. I think if they somehow, I think that's one of those calls where no matter how good technology gets in any sport, if
Whatever they call it on the field is staying.
exactly 100%. And then, and I do like the idea of them calling it a score on the field. Like, yes, it sucks that it hurts us, but then they always are going to review it. So, it just kind of turned into a shitty way. And I was listening to a pod or some radio this morning talking about that. And it's like, if that would have been Javonte Williams, you would have wanted it to count as a catch, like you would have argued that it could have counted as a catch, I think. So, it's tough to say because his foot was like out of bounds, but his knee was simultaneously or before inbounds. So it's just really about control. I would tend to agree with you. I think there was a way they could have overturned that for sure.
And that was like the biggest turning point of the entire game.
100%.
That was 4th and 13. That
fourth and 1. I think it was 4th and 1, and they just threw it to the end zone.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was a 3rd and 13 that they converted. Whatever. They just started pouring it on. That's when I knew it was over. But we valiant effort. If I could bottle up any feeling that I've ever had in my life, it was when I watched Bo Nix throw that fucking moon ball, and that ball felt like it hung in the air for approximately 30 minutes. I was watching it. What is it in the Sandlot where fucking Hamilton Porter hits the home run and everybody's just like watching it fly over their shoulder. That's how I felt watching Bo throw that ball. It was so sick. And then Troy Franklin actually used his hands to make a catch, which was new. So I saw somebody tweet that Troy Franklin catching a ball sacrificed everybody else dropping the ball because usually Troy Franklin is the only one dropping it. And yesterday he was the only one who fucking caught it. So other than that, I mean, the future's very bright. Even a lot of the Bills fans are like, hey, you guys got a great quarterback. Like, future's bright for you guys. And I have no problem rooting for the Bills going forward. Like, I'm pulling for them against the Ravens, against the Texans. When the Texans beat the Chiefs, I'll pull for the Bills against the Texans in the AFC Championship. And then if it's Bills Eagles or Bills Lions, that's going to be a tough one. But either way, it's going to be a fun Super Bowl. I think this is the beginning of our window, so that's nice.
Yeah, you just can tell the difference of the fan bases and where the teams are at. Like, they are in their window of like every year when they don't win it, it's like, what the fuck did we do? And we're just like the happy to be here kind of. Now next year and going forward, that will change. But this year it was fun just go in there and like, hey, we've already won this season. We made the playoffs with a rookie QB. We competed in that game. The score doesn't really tell how close that game was, considering it was like 13-7 late in the third quarter. So I think overall, future's bright for the boys, and we're in a very different spot than they are now. Playoffs become kind of the floor, but now it's like, how many games can you win in the playoffs is I think where the Broncos will be next year, which is where we haven't been since 2015, which will be, it's cool. It's definitely like exciting, even though we had to take one on the chin.
Exactly. Do you know what I think is a real possibility that would be fun for the regular season is to try to win a division title. I don't think the Broncos remember what that is. And the Chargers are tough. They're frauds in the playoffs, like always. Phillip Rivers, Justin Herbert, time is a flat circle. But they're tough, obviously, in the regular season. And the Chiefs are king of the division. They have been for the last better part of a decade. So would love to get back on top of the AFC West and then get a home playoff game. I mean, that is Empower Field is unlike anything else, in my opinion, in sports. I'm a little biased, but so that kind of wraps up the Broncos talk. I drove home this morning. Dude, I could not sleep for fuck last night. I went to bed at like midnight, and it was one of those where I knew I had to wake up early. And so I knew I was getting a short night's sleep. And then the more you don't fall asleep, the closer it gets and you get more anxious. And then I'm like, oh, what if the fucking car isn't there? Like, because I had to have the car back by like 12:15 today. Otherwise I was getting charged for another day, which wouldn't be the end of the world. But it was just more like, let's have it back by then. Like, otherwise, what the fuck's the point? And then I'm like, what if the car isn't there? And then I was like, what if I get fucking jumped walking from my Airbnb to the car because I had my backpack and shit on me? There were just so many things that went through my mind. My mind was just racing. And then also just did not feel great. And it wasn't even like I was hammered. I'll talk about it later. But anywho, made it home. I don't know what day it is. I'm in the twilight zone right now. I'm just fucking talking. So yeah, Buffalo is a blast. And we got a quick turnaround going to Arizona on Thursday. It's one of those where I'm very excited, but I'm also just the thought of it. I can't even wrap my head around it right now. I need these few nights of sleep to regroup before I even consider what I'm getting myself into in a couple days.
Yeah, we've got a bachelor party down in Tucson, 3 rounds of golf at the gallery, 2 rounds of golf at the gallery, 1 at Star Pass.
Yeah.
Star Pass. So it should be fun. It's supposed to be only like in the 50s, 60s, which I'll be bringing the jacket, but it's going to be better than what it's been here for the last week and a half. And it's supposed to be the coldest it's been in Colorado in like years all weekend, like -6 on Saturday. And
oh
like,
my God.
It's like an atomic Arctic warning or some shit they called it. So great time to get out.
I don't think that's what it's called. An atomic Arctic warning.
Yeah, that's it. I think atomic was part of it. I'm pretty sure. Maybe no, Arctic blast. Maybe that's what it was.
Oh
blast
yeah,
atomic.
yeah, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
atomic. I think that's like space and shit, and maybe it's not even space. I have no idea.
Yeah, who knows at this point? But
you have anything from your weekend? Or are we hopping into the golf shit?
No, just pretty chill weekend overall. Went and helped my wife in the classroom on Saturday, hanging up some stuff on the walls.
You're who?
My wife.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. My wife. I helped her hang up some stuff in the classroom Saturday, watched football Sunday, went to the bar, got a babysitter, so we had some free time at the bar. That was nice, enjoyable, but pretty much other than that,
babysitters, bro.
Yeah, I know. These ladies working hard. It's appreciated. When you can get a Sunday and go watch your team without like every moment. Like there was a meme the other day that was like a dad just smoking a cigarette in the back of the yard and just touching the tree. I think it was a TikTok, and he was like, it said, just taking a minute to touch grass because I just ate dinner with 2 toddlers, and what the fuck was that? And that's how I feel every time we go somewhere. We had to leave. Oh yeah, we went to the Nuggets game on Friday night, and we had to leave at halftime because it would just not sit down, not sit still. We're taking him on laps around the stadium. Finally, I'm like, let's just fucking go home. We'll catch the fourth quarter at home. Had a couple of big parlays out there that I almost hit until Nick Claxton fucked me. So shout out to him for absolutely debauchering my $2,400 parlay, which, by the way, this is some betting advice for you all out there. If you ever type in a parlay, first of all, probably just delete it because it's not going to win. No, that's just me. Everybody else can hit parlays. But if you ever type in the value of what you want to bet, you can't delete that. No matter what. That's just betting 101. I'm telling you right now. Now, I hit submit before, and they weren't, DraftKings isn't going to cancel my bet. I accidentally meant to bet it for 5 units less than I bet it for, which turned out it would have been cool if I would have won 5 times the money that I meant to. But
how'd you fat finger it to make it be 5 times what you wanted to bet?
I think I tried to do, in my mind, I wanted to do 10 beans. I then saw that there was like a free bet offer up to 5 beans. So I said I hit 5 beans, and then I hit 50 beans. So,
okay.
Yeah. So I was in for 50 beans, and actually it was like a crazy parlay too. It was like 3 different legs of plus 300 or more, and 2 of the 3 hit. But then Nick Claxton, I will not forgive you ever. But yeah, if you type in $18 instead of $1, you have to submit at 18. That's just betting 101. I'm telling you, it's
I see. I'm not God's actually way of telling you what to put on it.
Correct. Yeah. If you type that in,
not actual God, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Not actual God. All right. This is the part of the pod where we talk about actual golf. This is a golf podcast, Big Drive Energy.
Maybe real quick. No, we're on the topic of gambling. Let's talk about our pick'em picks from last week. You had Who did you have in the pick'em?
What are you talking? Oh, our one and done golf.
Yes, I'm sorry. In our one and
I
done
had
golf,
I actually had Keegan Bradley, who I think was the highest earner of the week of all the picks.
that's a fucking joke, dude.
Who did you
Russell
have?
Henley.
Oh,
Russell
Henley.
Henley had it to 9 under in the middle of Friday, proceeds to just completely lose it. He's got opportunities on opportunities. He almost holds out for eagle on his ninth hole of the day, which I think was 18. He makes the turn, just pisses down his leg, ends up finishing T10. And yeah, Keegan Bradley was T6. So good pick on your part, man. I mean, Keegan Bradley, I thought you were a week late. I thought he was going to have a down week after having a great week last week, but apparently the Northeastern guy likes to go out and play in Hawaii. So
Yeah. So speaking of chipping in for eagle, like you were saying, Russell Henley almost did. Nick Taylor, dude, every tournament he's won some big ones in the past 2 years. He's like the odd. I think he's got 5 PGA Tour wins, and the last 3 are, winning in Hawaii is not like overly, but the way he won and tying it with a chip and eagle on the 72nd hole, just incredible cinema there. We all know, I mean, they changed the fucking RBC Canadian Open logo to him. That's how insane his win was in Canada. And then he won in a playoff at the rowdiest tournament of the year, the Waste Management. Those are like his last 3 wins, all in different. Is Hawaii a continent? Is Hawaii a different continent?
no,
Because I was thinking about this. I was like, he won in Canada, which is North America, so maybe continent, but it's
they
not a
call it
different
the
country.
non-continental U.S. That's Alaska and Hawaii. They're non-continental U.S.
Yeah, so non-continental US, whatever. He's won in Hawaii, he's won in Scottsdale, and he's won in Canada. So it's pretty. He's won in 3 different, very different places in the last year and a half.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, I don't even know who a good comp would be, but he is like the Tiger Woods of, those tweets that people put together that are usually pretty clever. I'm trying to think of one. He's like the Tiger Woods of like Brandel Chamblees or Tim Herons or somebody who's won like a handful of times on tour. But when that dude has a clutch opportunity, he does it. If it's only once a year, once every 2 years, when that opportunity arises, he is going to fucking step through that door. Well, I think I sent the tweet to you. He had a 0.04% chance of winning standing on the 18th green. He was down 2 shots, then proceeded to chip in for eagle to get into a playoff, and then makes 2 birdies in the playoff to win the golf tournament. So the dude is just super clutch. And also, I said something to you earlier about it. I'm trying to cultivate a Canadian bacon Hawaiian pizza reference here. Canadian winning in Hawaii, a little Canadian bacon and pineapple. We were trying to make that into the pod cover, but I just couldn't make it work. My brain is not firing on all cylinders currently. So the creative juices weren't quite flowing. But yeah, the Nick Taylor win, good for him. I always liked rooting for him. The fact that, wait, didn't he get left off of the President's Cup? Or the Olympic team is what he got left off of. He was not on the Canadian Olympic team, which blows my mind. I mean, the guy has the potential to go out and win every week, even if he only does it once every 2 years. You still feel like he's that wild card that you got to put on your team. So I can only imagine going forward, unless we get some sort of young phenoms coming through, but it's going to be Taylor Pendrith, Mackenzie Hughes, and like Nick Taylor, maybe Adam Hadwin. Hadwin's playing decent golf too. So
Yeah, the Canadians have some serious top heavy power in their golf world, in their professional golf world. Nick Taylor being left off the Olympic team, kind of insane to think about. And somebody tweeted yesterday, I forget who it was, but they were like, Nick Taylor should be a Ryder Cup captain, or Ryder Cup choice, no doubt. And like, just because of the way he plays and the way he's won some of these events are just off the charts insane.
Well, could that also be a joke about Donald Trump saying that Canada is going to be the 51st state?
I think that's potentially what it was. It was It was multiple jokes wrapped into one.
Oh, that was well done. People on Twitter are pretty clever. I don't know.
I know. I like, you always see those tweets of other tweets that are like, I'm never deleting this app, and that's how I feel.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. 100%. What do we got next there, Big Cheese?
Next up, we are going to hit Tacoma Golf. Let's talk a little Tacoma Golf because I have some thoughts on this. All right.
I want
And
to hear
in the
your
golf
thoughts.
world, so here, explain to the people what went down with this and why this is a topic.
Well, so from what I understand, Tacoma Golf is a niche iron and wedge company. Maybe they just make irons, maybe wedges as well. I think they do make wedges now that I'm saying that. They're based out of the Netherlands, I want to say, or Switzerland, something like that. Give me 1 second. I think I got a cough.
So yeah, we're talking Tacoma Golf here, and it's from the Netherlands or the Switzerlands. One of the two.
Somewhere in that northern European area,
Starting off
Scandinavia. Yeah, you fucking name it, name the country. Sure, that's where Tacoma Golf's from. But the reason it's a topic is because they're bringing on all these influencers. They're basically marketing via influencer, which in that sort of strategy, it makes sense because they're direct to consumer. They don't sell anywhere retail. They only sell online. So they keep their margins where they're at. They're not selling wholesale to a retailer. But the problem is, and it's not necessarily a problem, but I think now Grant Horvat has acquired an equity stake in it for being an athlete. And same with the Bryan brothers. They have an equity stake as well in Tacoma. And everybody is calling this like a Ponzi scheme at this point, which I don't necessarily fully get the comparison, maybe because they're gaining an equity stake, which is really nothing of monetary value right now. You know, I don't know if they had some independent accountant come in and take do a full audit and see the actual worth and give an evaluation of the company, but they're essentially just giving them equity to be influencers for them to play their gear, which essentially has no monetary value as of now. It's just a fucking number in the wind. So I'm curious as to your thoughts. First off, I'm sorry, I just asked you your thoughts and now I'm going off, but it just came to my mind. The whole Grant announcement saying I'll still be a tailor-made athlete. And I've always been on the side of golfers or athletes, but my brother in Christ, you're a YouTuber, you're not a professional golfer. Don't say I'll still be a tailor-made athlete. You are still sponsored by TaylorMade, sure, but you're not a TaylorMade athlete. You're not competing in anything. You're posting YouTube videos, which more power to you, bro. You're making 10 times more money than I'll probably ever fucking see in my life. Good on you. But the announcement in like the picture of him in the shadow, it was all just very cringy to me. I don't like it at all. And he's like, it was always my dream to own a club company, and it just came off as very fucking corny. And that dude just he seems like the kind of guy that you meet and he's really nice and it almost creeps you out. You're like, this guy's got something that I don't know about. So that's kind of I've literally never watched a single one of his videos. I'm just not the kind of person to sit and watch a YouTuber play golf. But I don't like the vibes the guy gives off. He seems genuinely nice, but it seems like if he snapped, he would just go off the fucking deep end. That's my guesstimation of it.
Yeah, well, so my thoughts are not necessarily specifically to Grant, but more Tacoma Golf and just golf equipment in general. It really is the only sport where you have your other big companies, and you're always going to have the big companies, the TaylorMades and the Titleists and that. And when PGA Tour players play it and they're heroes of, kids, they want to play the same ball or look like Ricky Fowler, and that's never going to stop. But it's crazy to me in the golf world when clubs are made and clubs can just be made by nobodies. And then you make a good enough club that somebody either wants to play it or you pay them to play it. And then other people start getting this like placebo effect of thinking you've made the best iron ever, which in reality, even if they're not that well made, if you like them and you start playing well using them, you feel like it's a great club. And that's not like a diss to anyone, or not saying Tacoma clubs aren't great, but this model of like these companies, like Mira is a great example, just like a, you know, Japanese made iron that you had, an incredible product, but it's almost like I watched this, and this is kind of, I'm going to relate the two. So give me a second here, but like Jimmy Butler started charging his teammates $20 for a cup of coffee. And it's like, when you just charge more for the same thing, and people just like think it's nicer, that's like, golf is like the premier example of that. Like, if you just go up to an iron set and it's $2,500 and every other iron set's $1,000, you're like, wow, that's got to be nice. You're not like, you know, oh, I would never, like, if it's a pair of shoes of a random shoe, big baller brand, let's say, you're like, oh, well, I don't know how good this shoe is really going to perform. But in reality, you spend more for it. And there's got to be some sort of economic word for this, where it's just like, you see something's more expensive, so you pay more for it and you feel better about it. But golf is truly going that way with some of these smaller companies. And if they can get their name out there enough, there's going to be people with money that buy this stuff. And I think PXG is kind of a perfect example of this. Like, they are on tour, and they do great discounts for veterans and military people. So military, like, I would see if you can get a 40% discount or whatever it is, like, you know, and they're supporting the military. Like, there's definitely some niches there where you feel like more apt to buy that club. But like, PXG for me was always just this unattainably priced iron. And then I started playing them, and I do really like them. And obviously, you know, they hooked it up and got us fit, and I got the driver, and we both have the irons now. But it always just felt like this club that only the rich people had. And but it was still the best club in the world, just because only certain people could afford
it. For sure. I will not stop you, but I will tell you that one of Tacoma's main marketing strategies is they're inexpensive. It's like $750 for a set of irons. So that's why they're making it. So your point,
everything I just said was semi wrong. But my point remains.
You know what Tacoma is it's Starberry basketball shoes. You remember the fucking Starberries?
Those things we had a pair.
They were like $35. They were fucking awesome. Like, they're affordable. They look good. Nothing wrong with that. And that definitely attracts a certain demographic. Like, obviously, we're not fucking marketing 101 over here. But there's a place in the golf industry for the PXGs. Adele Golf, that was just acquired by Pins and Aces. Shout out Adele Golf. I might be fitting for them, and I might be on like Adele's staff. So that'd be dope. But see, like, those companies are niche because they're handmade clubs that are put together. Like, mirrors are put together in Japan, Adele's put together in America, but it is essentially, it's like, if I were to compare it to a beer, Titleist and shit is Coors Light, Bud Light. It's mass produced. It's made quickly. They have it dialed in like it's a good product, but it doesn't take any extra time. And Adele or Mira or I wouldn't even say Tacoma's like maybe Bush Light, because like the college kids love it and it's fucking cheap and it gets the job done. There you go. I just gave you a marketing strategy, Tacoma. But I would say the higher end brands are similar to like a sour beer that takes months to age. You're actually paying people to take time to age the beer to get the end product. That's like Mira, PXG is still somewhat mass produced, but they are crafted here in America, and Adele's crafted here in America. So like, those take more time and they take more resources and they cost more to actually make. And they're smaller batches relative to your Titleists, your Callaways, the fucking Coors Lights of the golf world.
Yeah, that's fair. And my point still stands a little bit, not necessarily the price part of it, taking the price out of it, but if you get people to get your name out there and somebody else thinks it's a great iron, they could be great for them, and then it can be great for you, and you think it's the greatest thing ever. So, you know, it's a matter of like how they look, how they feel. Everybody has their own little, you know, things about what goes into a good golf club, whether it's an iron, driver, etc. But once you hear about them and then you play them yourself, you don't, you know, most people they're starting to phase out, I think, of like brand loyalty. There's
Dude, I
still
was
gonna
just thinking about bringing that up because I was going to ask you. I think personally, just like you said, I think brand loyalty is going to be an old way, a way of old, however you put that.
yeah,
It's
and
the
just
old
for
school
those,
guys that are all Titleist or
yeah,
all joy. That I don't think that's any longer going to exist unless it's like your real country club, fucking rich kids. They're always going to have the half calf Nikes on with the FootJoy icons and that whole bit. Like that's just how it's going to be.
yeah,
But like
and
you said,
just
brand loyalty out the window.
Yeah, just so everybody that like hasn't worked at a golf club knows, and you may be listening to this and I'm just mansplaining it to you, and this is how you are, which there's nothing against this, but we had plenty of people at the course back in the day, and this is before fittings became really popular and a bunch of different brands started fitting people for clubs. But like we'd had members that what's the new Titleist driver? Okay, I'm ordering it. Like they don't
Yeah.
care how they hit it. They just get their same shaft, or maybe they change shafts or do lighter grams or heavier grams, but they're like, what's the new Titleist driver? That's what I'm ordering. And they stay that way. And what's the new Callaway irons? I'm ordering them next year, no matter what. Now they have either a cavity back or, a muscle back or whatever. There's a few options there, but they're literally just like, what's that new brand? And that's what I'm ordering. And I don't care how I hit, what I think I need to hit or going about doing. And people are like that. And so I think that is phasing out, especially with the amount of club testing that's done, not only like posted by like my golf spies and stuff, but the people go in and they don't just say, what's the new Callaways? Maybe that's the one they try first, but almost all the time there's going to be something else that they hit better for 5 or 6 swings on the simulator, whether fair or not. And then they think that they need that club, and maybe they do, maybe who knows what it performs better over time. But in the club testing world and all the numbers we have nowadays, it's almost like you got to try everything else out, or else you're doing your game a disservice.
100%. It would be like if you were going to buy a car and you're like, I've always bought Mercedes, I've always drove Mercedes. You may like the look of them, you may like the feel of them, but if your Mercedes has a V6 in it and somebody buys a BMW that looks exactly like your Mercedes, but it's got a V8 in it and a twin turbo, you're gonna be like, why doesn't my Mercedes have a V8 and twin turbo? Like, why doesn't it perform that well? Because I will say personally, I've never been brand loyal to a specific brand, but there's definitely brands that I've stayed away from. I've never been a huge TaylorMade guy because they shoved the fucking marketing down our throats when we were just getting into golf. It was the white drivers, the uglier than fucking sin. They had everybody rocking their gear on tour, like they were just buying the entire tour. And I just never really gotten into TaylorMade. You're either kind of a TaylorMade guy or you're not, and I never was. I do have their 3-wood in the bag, the M6. It's like 5 years old, and I just hit piss missiles with that thing, so it's staying in the bag. I don't care. What other brand was I just thinking of? God damn it. I just had a brain fart. But there's certain brand. Oh, yes. I never really have played Ping. Like I've never owned a Ping club before. And it's neither really here nor there. It's one of those things where you associate it with a person that plays those clubs. And I think there was a guy at our old club that was exclusively Ping that I thought was a douchebag. And so I just like, I'm not playing Ping. Like that's just out the window for me. And I ended up on Callaway staff. I've had Mira. Now I'm playing PXG with a mixture. So I'm kind of all over the place. I don't necessarily have any brand loyalty, but the Ping driver, I may have to give a try because it is constantly year in, year out rated the best driver by My Golf Spy. And shout out to My Golf Spy. They do great work. If you don't follow them, they do basically unfiltered testing of all products. I feel like they're kind of getting bought a little bit now, but at the very beginning, they were just straight up give you the rating, didn't care what anybody said. But yeah, I mean, you got to try other shit because you never know.
Yeah, 100%. All right, moving into our next topic, we're going to talk about abandoned dunes and going to a lottery system. So, like I said at the beginning in the intro, everybody can because this is happening everywhere. And granted, yes, some people, it may not happen to you, and good for you. I'm happy for you. Even if you do play only public golf, like you can find tee times, that's great. But if a place like this is going to a lottery for tee times, you know that golf is just, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's great that the game's grown, but kind of talk a little bit about this lottery and what we're going to see from it. Like, and they may be one of the first real popular resorts to do it, but they won't be the last, and it won't stop here.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of appreciate them doing a lottery rather than just pricing people out, because then they, that's another business 101. You have that high of a demand, just charge more and you'll slowly lose some of the demand, but you'll make the same money. So I'm glad they're not doing that, because nobody wants to pay $750. Like it is just the only time I've ever had to be on a lottery to play a golf course was the old course. Not a big deal. But that is a fucking golf course that you put your name in the lottery and hope you get selected for. I'm not going up to the Oregon coast. And maybe that's just me, like, sounds stuffy and old school to say that, but there's nothing on the Oregon coast that I need to play that bad that's been around for 15 or 20 years that I'm going to spend thousands of dollars and put my name in a ballot for. Like there's way too much other good underrated golf that you can get on. It at that point, you're just going to play Bandon to say you played Bandon. Just fucking go, just order a hat and lie to people. Who cares? Because that's all it is. And then you're not spending $2,500 on a trip. So I think it's a little ridiculous, but at the same time, I do like the fact that they're not just gouging people even further, although it is already really fucking expensive. So
yeah, that's totally understandable at that point. And like you said, they could just gouge people, but instead of that, they're going to change the way they do that stuff and go over and let people, because people plan these trips so far out. So I'd be kind of interested to see how the lottery, like how long, or if it's like only a lottery to play a few of the courses. I'm not fully aware of all the courses they have there, but like if you're doing a trip to Bandon, maybe you get in the lottery for the top 2 courses there. But if you don't get that, you can still book the other 4. Not exactly sure entirely how it's all going down, but this isn't going to be the first one. And it kind of made me think of Rodeo Dunes, which is coming to Colorado here in the next year and a half, and fully built, like, especially in these places where you don't get golf year round. This is going to be an issue from every one of these destination type of courses that people want to play from, May to October or whatever. And that's maybe even stretching it June, July, August, September for sure, where you can know you're going to get decent ish weather. Oregon coast, you never know, but like just being able to not like semi enjoy a round, because you can say you played Bandon Dunes in March, but you're probably not going to enjoy it as much as playing it in June or July. So
yeah.
Last topic here we'll get to today, Neil Shipley solving SAT math problems in his head as he's golfing. This is kind of an electric idea. I think I don't have the mental fortitude to get quite to that level, but thinking of like something completely different while you're on the golf course, especially, he talked about waiting on par 3s and how long some of the PGA Tour rounds take. Kind of an electric thing overall. Like he's just flopping his way smarter D out in front of everybody's face. But at the same time, whatever, this is a thing that you could use as anybody. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the amateurs playing city golf during the weekdays have a lot different things to think about, like cigarettes and beer and things like that. But overall, the idea is actually kind of clutch.
100%, dude. I mean, if you're that smart, I think he's got 2 degrees. He was going to be a finance bro, which he would be an absolutely legendary finance bro. With that flow he's got going, he'd have the BlackRock Patagonia zip up on. He would be murdering it on Wall Street. But I'm glad he's in the golf world, because he's a fun watch. So yeah, just next level psycho shit to just solve SAT problems for fun. But those kids are they're really, really smart kids that you didn't really relate to them. My good buddy Jeff Stevens, growing up, he never even sniffed a bee until he went to Colorado School of Mines. And then he's like, yeah, I got some bees at Mines, but now he's an electrical, or not an electrical engineer. I think he's a petroleum engineer, something like that. Anyways, very, very smart kid. And there was just definitely a separation there, where I consider myself relatively smart. I'm more street smart, I'm in tune with the streets, but he's just like next level book smart. So kudos to Neil Shipley.
Something that I can't relate to for sure.
You're pretty smart, dude. I'll give you your props. You're pretty smart. I feel like it kind of went downhill when you went to public school and then you went to college and just stopped really giving a fuck. You just C's get degrees. Nobody cares what you get on your diploma when you walk across that stage at college. So, one other thing before we get to Fairway 4, Kisner being named
Mulligan Monday, homie.
I'm sorry. We are bringing back Fairway 4 though, so that's maybe a Freudian slip. But Mulligan Monday. Before we get to that, Kisner, assistant captain, vice captain of the Ryder Cup. What do you think?
I mean, Kisner and Keegan Bradley, it just goes to show you how the guard is changing, because they're two players now. Kisner obviously plays a lot less, but this used to be something back in the day that was like your old, players that are either on the senior tour or way past the actual prime of their game doing this kind of stuff. And where, it's kind of just like coaching in general, where you see Marcus Freeman's in the national title at 38 years old. Like, the younger coaches,
I was just going to say, is Keegan Bradley the JJ Redick of golf now, I guess?
100%. Like, these guys have to relate to the younger athletes. And, the Team USA is like a bunch of 28, 29, 30-year-olds, in the Gen Z or older millennials. And it's a different, I'm not saying that you're in golf, it's very different than a real team sport, but having the guys that, having a new changing of the guard. And I think the fun part about that is these guys can be the captain for the next, they'll switch them around, but they can also, this isn't like, oh, one last time to be the Ryder Cup captain and then I'm out, like, these guys aren't 70 years old. And I think still the possibility of Keegan Bradley playing in this as the playing captain will be awesome. And that'll be something to watch all year, as he's already started out hot. But Keegan Bradley and Kisner together, just an electric combo.
100%.
All right. Should we get to Mulligan Monday? I've got a pretty good Mulligan Monday for you. So Mulligan of the week or Mulligan Monday, just something that happened to us in the past week or however long. And we're just like, what was that? Not what
we could have a do-over,
but we wish we could have a do-over on this. And so I was texting a guy regarding my job about events and tailgates, and I was trying to figure out some stuff with him, and he gave me some pricing, and I dropped my phone in the car mid-text, and I hit the microphone button, and I said, "Holy fuck," and I sent it, and my phone was on the ground. And I was like, oh my God, like, what?
Oh my God.
What did I do? I had to you can edit text now, but they can still see them. So I quickly edited it, or I was like, holy fuck, that's great. But yeah, I literally was driving and
oh my God, dude.
I think I said, holy fuck, not necessarily regarding his text, but just like, holy fuck, I dropped my phone. I'm trying to drive down University, swerving. And so it sent to him, and it was pretty bad. I was like, God damn it.
Dude, I've never gotten worse, not even third-party embarrassment, just personal embarrassment than when I send the wrong text to somebody, or I say something and it goes through, it's terrible. And you accidentally send somebody a voice text or those voice messages that you can leave. Yeah, that's terrible. So I can only imagine you hated that. Yeah, my Mulligan Monday is I ate a fried bologna sandwich for dinner last night. And I only had eggs and some breakfast meat yesterday morning, had nothing else to eat the rest of the day. Did have quite a few cocktails. And then we get to dinner and the fried bologna sandwich, I was like, oh, and it didn't really even look fried. I thought it was going to be thin, like thin bologna. The piece of bologna was like a half-inch thick. Like, it was fucking massive. It tasted phenomenal. But I've literally never had worse heartburn in my life. I fully had to get out of bed this morning at 3 a.m. and throw up because I just could not handle I've never had heartburn like that. I don't usually just naturally get that. It fucked me up so bad. I don't know if I'm ever going to eat bologna again. So yeah, don't order the fried bologna sandwich apparently. Because I thought I was doing a good job by not ordering chicken wings. Turns out the chicken wings probably would have been the safer option. So on top of not being able to sleep, thinking my car was getting stolen, thinking I might get fucking robbed walking to the car, thinking about my 5-hour drive, I was throwing up from a fucking fried bologna sandwich. So I am just having a hell of a day.
Yeah, you've had a rough like weekend, although fun. You just need a quick reset before we head to Tucson for some golf this weekend. So get
It
some sleep
legit,
in, get some fluids in you.
yeah, 100%. This morning feels like 2 days ago.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just one of those where I can't even associate that with this same day. I don't even, is it like 4 or 5 o'clock? I have no clue what time it is. I'm just lost right now.
Just lost. Well, we will be back for another episode of Big Drive Energy Wednesday. We're going to roll our interview with Josh Seipel. It was inside the ropes. Like, I'm very excited to hear from him what this TGL was like from inside. If you saw the reel from the PGA Tour, they posted something about Shane Lowry saying he needs to be the Scotty Scheffler indoor golf. The guy laughing with him is Josh Seipel. So we're going to get his full take on the TGL being inside, what he was doing, all of that. And we'll also have picks and preview for the upcoming PGA Tour event this weekend. We will talk to you guys on Wednesday.
Peace.